This episode of Inspire AI Podcast is sponsored by Exponent 21. I keep hearing the same thing from business leaders lately. We're doing the work, but leads are harder to explain. Traffic is down, attribution feels fuzzy, and the old answers don't really fit anymore. What's changed is how people search. Instead of clicking links, people are asking questions, and AI is answering them. Tools like ChatGPT, Google's AI-powered results, and Perplexity are shaping which brands get mentioned, referenced, and remembered. Exponent 21 specializes in AI SEO. They help businesses understand how to show up consistently inside those AI-generated answers across questions about their industry, their services, and their brand. What stands out to me is that when people ask AI tools, who's leading in this space? Exponent 21 and its leaders are often referenced near the top. That comes from doing the work and shaping how this new search environment actually functions. To understand what this shift means for your business, visit exponent21.com. Welcome back to Inspire AI, the podcast where we explore how leaders, builders, and organizations can stay calm, capable, and intentional in an AI-accelerated world. Today's episode is about one of the biggest strategic misunderstandings happening in business right now. Across every industry, organizations are investing heavily in AI. Executives are deploying copilots, teams are automating workflows, productivity metrics are improving. And yet, most companies still aren't seeing transformational business outcomes. Why? Because many organizations are solving the wrong problem. They believe AI is primarily about efficiency, but history suggests something much bigger is happening. The most important technology shifts in history rarely created their greatest value through productivity alone. The real winners were the organizations that recognized where value was moving before everyone else did. Electricity didn't matter because factories became slightly more efficient. It mattered because entire operating models changed. The internet didn't transform the world because email was faster than fax machines. It transformed the world because it restructured commerce, media, communication, and power itself. And AI may follow the same exact pattern. So today, we're going to explore a provocative idea. AI is not a productivity revolution. It's a competitive reset. And the organizations that understand how markets, power, and value are redistributed by AI may define the next era of business. The AI productivity paradox. We may eventually look back on this period as the era of AI productivity paradox, because almost every major company says AI is strategic. Investment is exploding. Pilot programs are everywhere. But most organizations still struggle to point to measurable transformational outcomes. And that's because nearly everyone starts with the same question. How can we use AI to do existing work faster? That's understandable, right? It's also strategically incomplete. Think about what I've already said. The first wave of AI adoption is focused on optimization. Faster coding, faster reporting, AI copilots, customer support automation, workflow acceleration, operational efficiency, the list goes on. And yes, these gains are real, but productivity improvements rarely create durable competitive advantage because competitors eventually adopt the same tools. Capabilities diffuse across markets, margins compress, and customers absorb much of the value. In other words, AI-assisted productivity is quickly becoming table stakes. If every company has AI-enabled employees, then AI-enabled employees alone stop being a differentiator. The baseline rises, but the strategic hierarchy doesn't necessarily change. And this is where many leadership teams are making a critical mistake. They're measuring AI success through labor efficiency when the larger opportunity is market repositioning. Let's take the electricity analogy, for example. One of the most useful ways to think about this moment comes from the history of electricity. When electricity first entered factories, businesses used it in the most obvious way possible. They replaced steam engines with electric motors. That improved efficiency, sure, but the underlying factory design stayed the same. Same workflows, same organizational logic, same production system. The real breakthroughs came later. Once manufacturers realized small electric motors could be distributed everywhere, they redesigned the entire factories around new workflows. That enabled assembly lines, mass production, new supply chains, and entirely new industrial economics. The greatest value didn't come from replacing old tools. It came from redesigning the system itself. And AI may be at that exact stage right now. Most organizations are still using AI like an electric motor attached to a steam-powered factory. They're accelerating legacy workflows, but the next generation of winners will redesign the factory. One of the most important frameworks for leaders right now is understanding the 3 waves of AI value creation. These waves overlap, but they represent fundamentally different levels of strategic impact. Wave 1, productivity. This is where most organizations are today. Like I said, AI automates tasks, it speeds up execution, it reduces operational costs, and it improves consistency. Examples include fraud detection, AI coding assistance, automated reporting. I've said these things before. Their improvements matter, but the wave is primarily defensive. It resets competitive expectations. Necessary, but insufficient. The next wave is differentiation. That is where AI starts creating entirely new customer experiences, products, and business models. There, the fun begins. It shifts from how do we work faster to what becomes possible now that AI exists. This is where things become strategically transformative. Some examples may include AI native tutoring, personalized financial guidance, drug discovery systems, real-time adaptive experiences, autonomous operations, and AI-enhanced marketplaces. Now, organizations can begin building AI-powered moats. The moats will increasingly come from proprietary data, faster learning loops, workflow ownership, ecosystem integration, embedded customer behavior, and network effects. Historically, companies competed through brand, distribution, scale, cost structure, product features, but in the AI era, advantage increasingly belongs to organizations that learn faster than their competitors. Okay, and now the final wave, market restructuring. This is the deepest and most disruptive wave of AI transformation. Not productivity, not even better products, but restructuring of entire industries. At this stage, AI changes the economics of coordination itself. It alters transaction costs, customer switching behavior, organizational boundaries, and where value accumulates across markets. This is where AI stops acting like a tool and starts acting like infrastructure. Thinking back, historically, entire industries were built around friction, searching for information, coordinating services, managing complexity, comparing options, or navigating institutional inefficiency. AI dramatically reduces all of that friction. And when friction disappears, market power moves, sometimes very quickly, because this is where incumbents become vulnerable. The companies optimized for the old system may no longer control the new one. Think about what happened when the internet restructured retail or advertising, media, travel, communication. The biggest winners often weren't the existing leaders. They were the organizations that recognized how the market itself was being reorganized. AI may trigger the same kind of shift. And in the third wave, the dominant players may be whoever controls the customer interfaces, the organization layers, the decision infrastructure, the proprietary ecosystems, and of course the continuous learning loops. Because it's no longer about operational efficiency. It's about economic gravity. Where customers go, where data accumulates, where decisions get made, and ultimately, who captures the value. The clearest example of the third wave is the reduction of transaction costs across entire markets. This may be the most important insight in the entire episode: AI dramatically compressing experimentation cycles. The cost of iteration collapses, and that means organizational velocity becomes a strategic asset. The companies that test faster, deploy faster, learn faster, and adapt faster begin compounding advantage at extraordinary speed. Think about that carefully. In previous eras, scale was often the most dominant moat. Now, learning velocity may become the dominant moat because faster experimentation creates more data, better models, better products, better decisions, more users, and even more data. It's a compounding flywheel. And once these loops accelerate, leaders can separate from competitors very quickly. This is why AI native companies feel disproportionately dangerous to incumbents. They aren't burdened by legacy approval systems, fragmented data environments, or organizational inertia. They iterate at machine speed. Now we get to the deepest layer of disruption, and arguably the least understood. AI doesn't just improve products. It reduces transaction costs across entire markets. This idea comes from economist Ronald Coase, who argued that firms exist partly because markets are expensive and inefficient to navigate. AI changes that equation. Agentic AI systems reduce friction by comparing options instantly, coordinating providers automatically, negotiating decisions, managing switching costs, and optimizing outcomes continuously. And the implications are enormous because many industries are built on this friction. Think about it. Insurance brokers, comparison websites, banking inertia, operational coordination layers, middlemen and intermediaries. Now imagine AI systems that continuously optimize your savings, negotiate prices automatically, manage subscriptions intelligently, coordinate healthcare decisions, optimize energy consumption in real time. Value begins migrating away from friction management and towards whoever controls the customer interfaces, the decision infrastructure, the orchestration layers, and the proprietary ecosystems. This is where the market structures begin changing systematically, not incrementally. In walks in the competitive reset. The entire central thesis of today's episode. AI is not simply another enterprise software cycle. It's a redistribution engine, a competitive reset, if you will, a restructuring of where economic value accumulates. And history shows us something uncomfortable. The winners are rarely the companies that optimize existing systems best. They're actually the organizations that recognize where value is moving earliest. That's the real strategic challenge. Again, it's not how do we use AI, but rather what becomes economically obsolete because AI exists. And then where does the new value accumulate? Because every major technological shift creates new winners, weakened incumbents, collapsed intermediaries, and entirely new categories of dominant players. The organizations that thrive in this transition won't merely deploy AI. They'll rewire themselves around it. So I'd like to close today with 4 strategic questions every leader should be asking right now. Where are the profit pools moving? Not just how do we reduce costs, but how does AI change who captures value in our industry? What are our future moats? If AI commoditizes capabilities, what remains defensible? Is that data, workflow ownership, ecosystem integration, customer trust, distribution, learning velocity? Are we structurally capable of learning faster than competitors? Because AI rewards iteration speed, not committee speed. Are we redesigning the business or merely automating the old one? Like I said, that distinction may determine which organizations dominate the next decade. The most dangerous thing organizations can do right now is confuse efficiency with transformation. AI will absolutely improve productivity, but productivity alone rarely determines the winners of technological revolutions. The organizations that shape the future will be the ones that understand how AI changes, how it changes customer behavior, how it changes transaction costs, how it changes competitive dynamics, how it changes market structures, and the flow of economic value itself. Because in the end, AI is not just changing how work gets done, it's changing where power accumulates. And those shifts tend to happen faster than incumbents expect. So until next time, stay curious, keep innovating, and keep building the judgment needed to lead confidently through technological change.